"I believe in America." Those are the first words uttered by Bonasera to Vito Corleone in 1972, and the first line of arguably the most iconic piece of cinema ever created. 54 years ago, this was an absolute game changer. The Godfather is a story about power, family, loyalty, and betrayal centered in and around the Corleone family. 2 years later, there was a sequel to this, and that only added to the legend and even surpassed it in many regards. A third part, nearly 2 decades later, was received with mixed reactions, but we'll get to the sequels later. However, it's important that you understand that the Godfather trilogy is about the men of the Corleone family and their twisted legacy. Vito, Michael, Sonny, Tom Hagen, and Fredo. But what if I were to tell you that there's another Godfather project brewing right as we speak, with fresh updates waiting to reach you in this video? Yep, you heard that right. This time the spotlight is going to be on someone who was always there, watching and processing. As a character, she was surely underestimated, and we've got to say, if you haven't guessed it until now, I'm obviously talking about Connie Corleone. An official novel titled Connie is planned to be released in the fall of 2027. Adriana Trigiani, the best-selling author, is the writer and, quite frankly, the genius behind this story, and interestingly, Paramount Pictures moved quickly and holds the film rights to the book. So yeah, the Godfather universe could see another side of it being expanded further, and fans are excited. With that in mind, I welcome you to everything we know about the new Godfather project. It's going to be a good one, so here we go.
Come on now, kill me, be a murderer like your father. Come on, all you Corleones are murderers.
I'm sure you've got a ton of questions, but the most basic is probably, who is Connie Corleone? Many casual fans of the trilogy might remember her as Don Vito's only daughter. Surely you remember the wedding in the initial scenes of the original film, right? "You come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding." Well, that daughter was Connie Corleone. Sadly, her life turned into misery after that marriage, mainly because of her abusive husband, Carlo Rizzi, who beat her. But this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Connie. The first film portrayed her as the powerless princess of the family, whose brother, Sonny, beats up Carlo for the way he treated his sister. But her struggles in the grand scheme were like a domino that kickstarted the entire downfall of the Corleone family. In the sequel, a few years later, a bitter Connie seems to resent Michael for ensuring Carlo got killed despite his violent outbursts. This bitterness leads her to neglect her children and go through meaningless relationships, and this portrayal rightfully resulted in Talia Shire getting an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. However, her character was still on the outsides of the main storyline, all while truly tragic and groundbreaking things were happening with her family. The Godfather Part 3, later re-edited into The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone, has her finally stepping into the limelight and becoming Michael's most trusted advisor, and most definitely his most ruthless. That took some serious character development in the background. She backs Vincent's move against Joey Zaza, a rival, while Michael is no longer in full control of the situation. Later on, she finds out her own godfather, Don Altobello, is plotting against the family, and she kills him with a poisoned cannoli. Ridiculous, right? It takes a while, but at this point, Connie is no longer shown as a victim. It's an incredible character arc, and surely one of the most overlooked in the trilogy. Given this, we're actually pretty excited about this new project. It's promising, and it's got us wondering about Connie's status during all those years, and what changes she experienced when she was married off to a violent husband. Let's talk about the source of this project. We already mentioned in the beginning that it's going to be a take on the novel Connie, written by Adriana Trigiani. She's someone with personal ties to the subgenre of Italian-American family stories herself, and since the New York Times best-selling author has the likes of The Shoemaker's Wife and Lucia under her belt, tackling a saga like this should be well in her wheelhouse. Fully authorized by the Mario Puzo estate, Connie joins the estate-approved Godfather expansions that came out after Puzo's original novel, including Mark Weingartner's The Godfather Returns and The Godfather's Revenge, as well as Ed Falco's The Family Corleone. But Connie will be the first woman to write such a novel. The story goes that it was acquired by Random House after an 8-way auction, which shows just how much it attracted the big guns in the industry. The release date is said to be fall 2027, and an interesting tidbit about the inception of the book, according to the Associated Press, is that Anthony Puzo, Mario's son, and also the executor of his Corleone's estate reached out to her directly after her personal essay on Substack gained some traction on how little was known about the women of The Godfather. Anthony went on to say, "We had been looking for someone to retell the story from a new perspective. Adriana was knocked out when I told her that the character of Vito Corleone, played in the films by Brando and De Niro, was actually based on my grandmother. We talked about how the women ran both of our families, but behind the scenes. Adriana's vision for Connie's life blew us all away, and I'm very pleased and excited to have her on board." How's that for an interesting fact? The original Don Vito Corleone was based on a real woman from Mario Puzo's family, which kind of makes sense if you spend enough time around Italian-American families. Soon enough, Trigiani had her own say when she stated, "Connie is a novel about how a woman works to forge her own way in a world that's already decided who she is, what she's about, and how she should be treated. People underestimated Don Vito Corleone and Michael Corleone at their peril. The same will be true for Connie Corleone." So from what we've gathered about the book and the minds behind it, it sounds like this is going to be a retelling of the Godfather story from Connie's POV and from the perspective of the women who were always present but rarely in the foreground. A never-before-seen perspective, which I'm sure is going to be absolutely thrilling. Now, on to the real reason you clicked on this video, and I know it came a bit late, but as always, context is king. Currently, Paramount Pictures holds the film rights to Connie, and some news outlets have reported the project in early development. The first female-led entry in the Godfather cinematic universe? Bring it on. That said, I hate to burst your bubble, but not a lot has been confirmed as of yet in terms of the cast or crew. There's no director, no leading face, and I'm saying this with Talia Shire in mind. There's not even news of a confirmed screenplay or a projected start date for production, let alone a release date. While this is a highly anticipated project, and I'm sure it'll have a solid audience waiting for it, it must be said that it's going to be a little bit until we actually get to see the film, if it ever moves forward. The other big question is about Francis Ford Coppola and whether he'll be back for this one. As per The Hollywood Reporter, one of Coppola's representatives claimed that it's unlikely that the 87-year-old filmmaker will be working on the project. It's also worth noting that he himself has said he's finished with the franchise from his end. Another key factor is the commercial failure of his last major release from 2024, his passion project, Megalopolis. The film reportedly cost over $100 million and made only a fraction of that back theatrically, but since Coppola self-financed much of the project, it would be unfair to directly connect that loss to Paramount's future decisions on The Godfather. With that said, we're not disappointed about a fresh, new vision for Connie, but we do hope we end up with somebody who will honor the original trilogy in their own respective way in the director's chair. But I mean, it's 2026 and it's The Godfather. After all these years, why? Well, because it's The Godfather, I guess. The trilogy amassed over $400 million worldwide, 9 Academy Awards, with 2 of them going to Mario Puzo for Best Adapted Screenplay. The first film still has a near-perfect critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, with the second part being a rare instance of a sequel being considered by many to be as great as, or even better than the original. Recently, the films were restored and released in 4K formats, with anniversary screenings and home media release gaining solid attention by themselves. Interestingly, if you look at some of the best stories of the streaming era, you'll find Succession, The Bear, and Yellowstone right up there, and this is interesting because the audience seems to be attracted to these tales about powerful yet broken families told from different perspectives. And this is where a story like Connie's would fit perfectly, while also underlining the prestige of the original trilogy. While we're on the subject, let's talk about possible plot lines for this one. Remember, the novel isn't even out yet, so we have to be careful with what we say here, but lucky for us, Trigiani and the Puzo estate have already confirmed the general overview. Connie will bring us back into the Godfather world from Connie Corleone's point of view, along with the other women in that universe. So expect Connie to be at the center of things, along with the other women from the world like Mama Carmela Corleone, Kay Adams Corleone, and the others who were always there but maybe not given the same narrative weight as the men. Think about the times we've seen or learned about Connie, such as her abusive marriage to Carlo, her mental state after his murder, and her eventual transformation into someone capable of killing for the family. All of these could be highlighted and likely form the spine of the film's plot if the adaptation follows the book closely. Additionally, we think what Anthony Puzo said about the women being the ones running both families behind the scenes is extremely relevant. We think this implies the possibility of some secret storylines, a few shady deals, some threats, and some people getting eliminated too. But that's really all we've been able to gather so far about Connie's story. Consider all of these to be conservative predictions likely to happen in the story, but far from being confirmed. That said, this is just the tip of the iceberg, and we'll be around to update you when and if we get more information about the novel and any connected projects. I mean, to be fair, we're talking about the Corleone family. It was never going to be just a simple tale. With that said, it's time to end today's video. We've got a bunch of exciting updates about the novel Connie by Adriana Trigiani, set to release in fall 2027, and the film rights for the book are already held by Paramount Pictures. We know very little about the screen version right now, but we have high hopes, and we hope you do too. On that note, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like it, and also let us know in the comments down below who you think should direct the film. Until next time, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.